Hello there, and welcome to my channel. I'm Cody the Coin Raptor, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about the likelihood of a potential Bitcoin spot ETF being approved by the SEC. There have been many rumors over the past couple of days that it will be soon in which it'll be approved, and in today's video, I'm going to go ahead and cover that. We're going to talk about an update to the likelihood that we're going to see that spot ETF approval, as well as some very interesting news about liquidations and the Bitcoin price. But before we get to that, be sure to subscribe, be sure to hit that like button, and be sure to follow me on X. So the first thing I want to talk about is Bitcoin's performance today. Bitcoin up only 0.43% in the last hour and down 1.41% in the last 24 hours, though in the last week it's up about 4%. And we'll cover that more when we talk about the Bitcoin price in the technical analysis section of this video. But we're going to go ahead and just jump right into it. So the most, I think, consequential information that I've gotten recently is that Unusual Whales posted on Twitter, now X, that sources report that a Bitcoin spot ETF is going to be approved by the SEC for multiple firms' applications, with news expected tomorrow. All right, so that was news reported yesterday. So I was actually able to figure out which TechCrunch reporter they'd gotten this information from. It's from Jacqueline Melinek. So she posted this on about 12:37 p.m. yesterday, and basically saying the exact same thing. Now, she went and she actually had an update for today, and that update was approvals could now be next week, but no definitive timing, okay? The government is moving at their own pace, and so things are going slower, okay? So it seems like we've gotten a little bit ahead of ourselves talking about the approval of the spot ETF being imminent, and now Melinek is actually pulling this back and saying, okay, well, there's no definitive timing to when we could see spot ETF approval. Now, you guys already know my thoughts on the matter, and that is the fact that it's only a matter of time before we see Bitcoin ETF, the spot ETF approval. But I do think it's going to take a little bit longer than people think, and I don't think it's going to be done before the 10th. Now, that being said, there's some interesting information that was also put out on X I want to share with you guys, and that is that VanEck's Matthew Siegel said he's heard from a well-placed source that BlackRock has $2 billion of capital lined up from existing Bitcoin holders that want to rotate into spot Bitcoin ETFs in the first week. Okay, $2 billion of fresh demand flowing into a Bitcoin spot ETF. That's enormous, okay? That's in 1 week of buying, that is enough to send us potentially into the stratosphere for Bitcoin whenever we wind up actually getting the spot ETF approval. Now, estimates for how much demand that this could bring into the space have varied quite a bit. We've heard $2 billion. There's another man named Martin Leanweber, who's the digital assets product specialist at Market Vector Indexes, that have said that if you just take 1% of the $30 trillion in assets that financial advisors manage, that would translate into $300 billion invested into Bitcoin. So we can see that anywhere from 2 to 300 potentially $1 billion worth of demand could be flowing into Bitcoin after a spot ETF is approved. So that being said, we'll have to wait and see. If I get any more information on this, I will definitely let you guys know. I'll make a video about it, and we will talk about it and go from there. Now, next, I want to go ahead and move on to our Bitcoin price action and talk about our TA here. So Bitcoin has found itself in the middle of a bit of a wedge here, and it's near the upper end of this wedge. It's sitting right now very close to these levels here, about that resistance point at 44,100. And we're expecting that Bitcoin is going to make a breakout of this 44,100 level. So far, it's held this uptrend support line here in blue very well. And so far, if that continues to hold, we will see a breakout. We will see a breakout above that 44K resistance level, and then potentially get us all the way up to 45K and 46K, and then even higher than that after that point. Now, one thing I want to draw you guys' attention to is the Bitcoin bullish percent index down here. This measures the overall bullish price action or bearish price action and gives us an idea of where Bitcoin is trading. So we're seeing a level of about 16, which is consistent with what we've seen back in November. Okay, those late November days in which Bitcoin kind of went sideways, didn't really go anywhere prior to the breakout here. And so I think this is actually pretty interesting to look at, because if Bitcoin does anything similar to what it did back in November, we could actually expect the price action from here is going to move up, and we're going to wind up getting that move into 45, 46, and 47K, and then potentially a pullback, and then continue to move higher. That's what I think is entirely likely. So we're actually starting to see, despite the Bitcoin price move up, there's not a lot of bullish sentiment currently built into the Bitcoin price. And in fact, it's collapsed since that January 2nd move up to about 46K. So I'm going to be watching this very closely to see if we actually sit below this level. Currently, it's in an oversold area, and we're in a very strong downtrend. But I do think, as a contrarian indicator, this would be actually very bullish. Now, again, not financial advice. Do your own financial research. But I do like looking at this indicator because this is one of my favorite indicators. I made a whole video on it. Definitely check that out when you guys get the chance. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is specifically what happened on the 2nd of January. We can see we had a huge amount of long liquidations on the 2nd of January. In fact, about $591 million worth of crypto long liquidations happening on the 2nd of January, and the price collapsing here from about 46K all the way down to about 40, almost 43,000. Now, that being said, this is in the entirety of crypto. If we go and take a look at Bitcoin's liquidation heat map, we can see where all the liquidity currently is for Bitcoin. It's sitting right at that level at about 46,200. If Bitcoin comes anywhere near this level, you have $355 million worth of shorts that will get squeezed, and the price is going to go even higher. So if Bitcoin can come anywhere near that level, that's game over for the bears. That's game over for the shorts. They're going to get squeezed into oblivion, and we could potentially see Bitcoin break out and achieve a new yearly high. Now, on the other side, what we've seen is a large amount of liquidity at about 41,800, about $154 million worth of long liquidations sitting at that level. So if Bitcoin does break down below that level, then you can imagine that we're probably going to wind up seeing 40K. But I think that the odds are greater to the upside right now than they are currently to the downside, because there's just this massive liquidity level sitting right here, and all this potential that Bitcoin could squeeze and then even move higher than it is right now. Now, if you guys remember from my video a couple of days ago, I talked about my top Bitcoin catalysts, and I said that my price expectations for this year were going to depend upon whether or not we saw a Bitcoin spot ETF approval, and that was 60K with no ETF approval, or potentially 70K with approval. Those are my expectations for the Bitcoin price by the end of the year. I'll have to update this thesis as I get more information, as more things happen. I will come back and I'll revisit this in a couple of months, or when I get that information. Now, the last thing I want to talk about is what's going to be going on next week. So next week we have consumer credit on Monday, Tuesday, trade deficit. Wednesday, we have some Fed presidents that are going to be speaking. Now, Thursday, very important, we have the jobless claims, and we also have CPI as well. So Thursday is going to be a very rocky day. We're going to see huge volatility that day. We're going to see if CPI is actually going to come in lower than expected, or it's going to come in as expected. Now, again, if it comes in lower than expected, we could really see some fireworks from Bitcoin and the traditional markets. So again, year over year, what you're looking at here is the previous number of 3.1 and then the forecast of about 3.3 year over year. So again, if we come in below that 3.3 level, that will be majorly bullish. And then we have the PPI as well, and that's going to be coming out Friday. So Thursday and Friday, Thursday, CPI, Friday, the producer price index or PPI is going to be released as well. And this right here should give us an idea of how things are going to shake out in the next Fed meeting. But I'll cover that in a separate video. All right, so that's all I've got for you guys today. Let me know what you guys think about this price action. If you think that there's going to be a Bitcoin spot ETF approved in the next week, leave a comment below, and I will catch you guys in the next video.